Hi there, my name is Kennedy Justinen. I'm a Canadian snowboard cross athlete. I compete and train for the World Cup circuit, and I'm hopeful of competing in the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. I guess I've been snowboarding for 18 years now. I learned when I was 10. That actually feels crazy to say. I think I've not accepted how old I am in life, but yeah, I learned when I was 10 years old, but as I mentioned, it was just something that my family did maybe once or twice a year, and so I didn't really have a lot of the foundational skills when I entered elite snowboarding at age 21. I really felt like I was, behind the mark of where I maybe should have been, so I knew how to go down a mountain on a snowboard, but I really didn't know a lot of the principles of snowboarding. So when I think about myself as a snowboarder, I would say I've been a snowboarder for 4 to 6 years. Being a professional athlete means to me, I think on an emotional level, just really following a passion that I felt within myself from a really young age. I didn't have the opportunity to compete when I was younger, so being able to do so in my later adult years, it just feels really fulfilling. The first time I competed in snowboard cross, I wouldn't consider myself a professional athlete at that time because I was very new, no coaching, no training, anything like that, but I did win the first race I ever competed in, so it was really exciting, especially with the large goals that I had. It just felt like I was really on the right path to be able to continue towards the high level of competition that I wanted to. I felt really excited to compete in my first race, and yeah, I was just really excited, really happy, pretty proud of myself as well for not having had any prior training or coaching. I think the thing that drove me to compete at a high level or as a professional athlete is something that was just inside of me when I was a kid. My parents really gave me a lot of opportunities to train and compete in many different sports, and so I think that maybe because of that it was just natural to want to go to a high level. And I think over time that passion has developed just through the camaraderie of having a team and having coaches and having a really large support system. I think it's something that we all look for in life, and so to have that through something that's really exciting and just brings passion, having that community is amazing. I tore my ACL in the last World Cup of the 2024 season. It was in Mont Saint Anne in Quebec. And I think the first thought that I had was, no way that just happened. And I didn't really have a big crash. I came off of a jump, I landed a little bit short on the knuckle of the jump and just landed with my leg a little bit too straight. It kind of twisted up, and I could just tell as soon as I landed that something wasn't right, but I was able to actually ride through the finish line. So it was weird because I knew that something wasn't right, but I still was able to finish what I was doing. It wasn't until I really got to the bottom of the run and had sat down that I realized that something was very wrong, because I was able to stand back up, but I wasn't able to stand on that leg. So it was pretty upsetting. Obviously there's a lot of thoughts that come after the initial one, but yeah, I was just shocked, really hoping that it wasn't a real injury. A key takeaway for me through this injury is patience. I'm definitely a type of person that likes things to go my way when I want them to go my way, and I've had to learn a lot of patience with myself and recognizing that this is going to take time, and some of those timelines are not things that I can control. And as much as I do like to rest and recover, I like to be going all the time. I like to have something on the go. So yeah, I've really learned what rest actually means, what it actually means, and then how to have patience with that timeline. To optimize my day-to-day training, I really focus on a good night's sleep. As women, we need more sleep than men, so if you have a partner out there that's telling you sleep too much, tell him you are not sleeping too much. Yeah, so we need like 8 to 10 hours of sleep, and then as an athlete, we're definitely leaning towards that, like 9 to 10 hours. I really feel optimized with that amount of sleep. And then nutrition is huge for me. Just eating like well-rounded meals, making sure that I'm getting a fruit or vegetable, and then definitely leaning on carbs. I feel like in the health industry, carbs are like beat up. We're told not to eat them, but really they're the fuel, like they're the thing that keeps us going. So making sure I have a protein and a carb and then like some fruits or vegetables at every meal is super important to me. I think the way that I want to inspire next generation of athletes, and also not just athletes, but young professionals, students, maybe even young mothers, is that it's actually possible when we feel like it's not possible. You know, I only entered into elite competition when I was 21, which is roughly 7 years later than most people do, and I really got a lot of funny looks at the beginning, so I just stayed true to what I wanted to do and really blocked out anything that somebody was saying against what I felt I could do, and it's turned to be possible that when you focus on one thing and put all of your efforts there, like it's possible. So through the challenging times, just really remain focused on like the one thing that you want, and then take the small steps to get there. I think the thing that I do to honor my body the most is really recognizing when my mood starts to change. Just recognizing that maybe it's a lack of nutrition or a lack of rest or a lack of like external passions. I know that for a lot of athletes, when we get really caught up in sport and in competitive sport, it's easy to lose like the passion for it, because we're just so hung up in like the next step, get better. And so I really try to honor myself in those times by just taking a step back and actually recognizing how far I've come, and then also just finding some fun in maybe other activities or connecting with family, and just completely removing myself, almost sometimes completely removing myself from the sport, so that I can just look and see the full picture, and then gain the passion again. Of course, I first and foremost want to thank my family, my parents, for supporting me through all of the changes of sports when I was younger. But definitely in regards to my current sport, they've been number one supporters. And then also my mindset and energy coach, Danielle Grant. She's been sponsoring me since basically day one of competing as an elite athlete. And she has believed in my goal more thoroughly than I've believed in my goal, like from the beginning. And just having somebody in the background that like really believes in you more than you believe in yourself is super important. I think being a CamPrev ambassador to me means embodying like the full picture of health, and also acknowledging that like the full picture of health includes like some lower moods or some, you know, when we're not so healthy, and just acknowledging that like health also comes with like lacking health at times, and how to elevate ourselves from those low points to the higher points. And for me, that's rest, nutrition, and then using supplements where my health is like needing those support systems. When I think of CamPrev, I really think of just like a family, like a support system. Everything that I like feel like I could need in support to the health that I'm already giving to myself. There's people, there's products, and yeah, it just feels like a really good community that I can lean on. I think that it's important to have people that rally for me as a professional athlete, because there is so much going on like behind the scenes, and it is so physically and mentally intensive that sometimes it can be hard to like maintain sight of the goal, and can kind of just get caught up in like the day-to-day work. So having those people like always cheering you on or reminding you of where you're going, I find that it's just easier that way. I think the longest term goal for me that I can think of right now is truly having good health and good fitness, like into my 70s, 80s. I like to talk about like that I'll be that, granny just shredding the mountains still in my old age. But I think that it's really important, and it is probably my longest term goal, because I don't want to be somebody that's incapable of, even just putting the groceries away or like cooking a meal for myself when I am older. Those are like the most prized, like not possessions, but like prized abilities that we have, and to be able to keep that until we're old is like, that's got to be like a number one goal for me. I think it would just be to like accept who I am a little bit more. It's something that I find myself looking back on now and just seeing how much I not really wanted to be like other people, but just didn't really necessarily want to be who I was in different moments in my life. And I think that like I would have more confidence as a professional athlete for sure if I had just accepted myself a little bit more when I was younger and not gone through those trials and tribulations of like questioning who I was. I find that it's really important for me to listen to my intuition, because it's right a lot of the time. And especially when I'm really on top of my journaling practice and my meditation practice, that voice is so much louder and it's so much easier to follow. And then I find that I can block out everything else on the outside truly in these moments that I was mentioning earlier of like, I really like to rest just with nothing else going on, just in a really peaceful environment. It helps me to be able to hear that voice more clearly and just understand that what I'm hearing within myself is the right voice that I should be following. One message I would like to send to all Canadians is that investing in our health now is gonna be less of a cost than putting it aside and having more severe illnesses later on that are gonna incur better costs. So eat healthy, rest well, drink water, and just, pay attention to how you feel and honor that.